Welcome to Safe and Sound, sponsored by White Mountain Fire and Life Safety. Today on the show we have Sergeant Salli O'Hare with Navajo County Sheriff's Office over the Criminal Investigations Unit. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
How are you today?
I'm good.
Just another day in paradise, right?
Absolutely.
So today we're here to kind of talk about something that I think we kind of have an interested passion about, and it's dealing with social media.
Correct.
And maybe more so along the lines of kind of what to avoid and the things the dangers that are out there for not even just for the young people, but kind of everybody.
Correct.
So what is your as far as your job, because you're as part of a detective, right? So
yes.
How does this tie into what you do?
Okay, so I'm the sergeant over the Criminal Investigations Unit for Navajo County, like you said, and we work all major felony cases within Navajo County, outside the municipal jurisdictions. And a lot of the cases that we see that are coming in are crimes against children, and when you backtrack it to causes, some of the causes of the crimes against children involve the use of cell phones, involves the use of internet. 98% of the time involves the use of some sort of social media outlet. We're also seeing where kids are on gaming systems or involved in some sort of game on the internet where they're meeting people from other countries or other states and befriending these people who are on the internet and not knowing who they are. We used to think about stranger danger, right? Don't talk to the man in the van who's driving by with the puppies, or
who's got the candy.
Right. I don't think we so much worry about stranger danger anymore in person as much as worrying about the strangers and the dangers of the internet, because the internet is just so big and you don't have a face to the internet.
Right. And
it could be anybody.
In fact, I even, when I'm talking to some of the kids in schools about this kind of stuff, and I use the example, it's like, well, if you got some stranger walking down the street and they comes up and asks you, hello, what's your name, and where do you live, and start asking all this personal information, what do you tell them? Right. You know, and they automatically say, no, I don't answer them. I shy away from them. I run the other way or whatever. Right. Well, why is that any different talking to somebody that's on the internet? You can't even see this person. Right. It's 100 times more dangerous talking to a stranger on the internet than it is in real life. Absolutely. You know, in fact, even talking to, I wonder how many people actually know that when they take a picture, you know, what's behind them. Right. And then even the settings on their phone, if they have those settings to where it's doing that GPS tracking when you take a picture, some bad person can find all kinds of information about you, right? Absolutely. The technology is amazing, way over my head and expertise. But yeah, you can find out just about anything about anyone that's on the internet or has been on the internet or within that social media realm. It's astronomical, the amount of people that can have contact with children and they don't even know who they are. Right. Absolutely. So what are some of the things that you're seeing out there that you're having to deal with? So if I can be direct absolutely in responding to these types of questions, because they're crimes against children, it's a very, very serious, it's a serious, I don't know if I want to say epidemic. It's a topic. It's a very serious topic. And it's something that's happening a lot. Yes, it's a serious topic within the Criminal Investigations Unit where we're seeing a pattern. So the way it works is, for example, we get a report of an underage juvenile, male or female, who is engaged in a relationship with an older male or female. Without going into a whole bunch of graphic details, right. It's illegal for juveniles to engage in any type of sexual conduct with older people. So we'll leave it at that, right. To keep it clean.
And by the time the investigation starts, we find out that they were communicating on the phone. We find out that they met over Facebook or Snapchat or Instagram or Twitter or some social media website, even gaming systems. They're meeting these people on gaming systems. And they have conversations with these people who they don't know for weeks and feel like they think they know them because of the conversation context that's been going on. In the meantime, in that month period, they send pictures, they send, personal information about them, maybe where they go to school, maybe where they live, pets, brothers, sisters, family information. It's amazing how much information teenagers are willing to give to strangers over the phone or over the internet when they don't even know who these people are. And then we go into teenagers, both boys and girls, sending nude photographs to that person over social media or the internet. And the problem with that is you don't know where that image is going. I mean, essentially it's going to the person who you're sending it to, but where is that person sending it to?
Right.
And then that person, and then that person. So the internet is forever. Forever.
And I think people think that, well, I deleted it off of my phone, so it's gone.
Oh, no. No, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but nothing is deleted. And contrary to popular belief, not even Snapchat is deleted. Kids these days, it goes away after 24 hours. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
Well, because all of these providers, they're mandated to keep things for so long, right?
Correct.
And then you can actually, through an investigation, you can get warrants and whatever needed to legally go in and gather this information.
That's correct.
And so it's just because you delete it off of your device. It's, in fact, some of these things, the cloud captures them right away, and it stores them as soon as you take the picture.
Absolutely.
So it's kind of like, I think people are not very tech savvy, even though they think they might be, as far as
not people necessarily, Kirk, but children.
Right.
I mean, because it's the children who are doing this.
And I think that kind of goes back to, because I look at some of my kids and grandkids, and they're more tech savvy than I am.
Right.
And so I have to go to them for advice. So us as parents and grandparents, I think we're missing the boat, not educating ourselves in how to protect our children and grandchildren.
That's correct.
And so is there ways to be able to maybe help parents to know a little more about, because I know there's numerous types of, like you mentioned, Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, there's all kinds of social media sites, and some of these were specifically designed for people to do bad things.
I don't know that I necessarily agree with these sites being specifically for people to do bad things. I think these social media sites were designed so that people could meet each other. It's so much easier for teenagers or adults to pick up a phone and send a text message or an instant message or a Snapchat to someone who they don't necessarily know, because it's not a face-on-face contact, right? We're not looking at each other in the face. We don't have to meet in person. We don't have to see all of our flaws and all of our, bad things that we think we believe about each other, because we're doing it over the phone. So kids and or adults are more brave when it comes to communicating over the phone. It's an absolute it's a fact. And
there's filters we can make ourselves even look better.
Oh, sure. Yes, absolutely. I use filters all the time. All the time.
But and I guess I should have said it's more advantageous for somebody to use these sites to do bad things.
Yes. Yes.
So I think that's more the correct way to say it.
And it's stranger danger on the internet.
Right. And now how do you teach our young children to, and unfortunately we're seeing at the elementary age kids coming in with smartphones. I'm like,
yes. So I have recommendations, ideas, or just plain don't do it. Don't give them smartphones.
Right.
How do you really 100% avoid the possible exposure to social media or the exposure to the internet stranger danger guy? You can't avoid it if they have the smartphone. So don't give them smartphones, or don't, a flip phone, or parents, and I've heard a parent say this, and it drives me crazy because I didn't grow up with a phone. We didn't have cell phones when I grew up, right? I went to the office and called the mom from the office, right?
Yeah, did you use the rotary dial? Yeah.
Yeah. So when parents tell me, oh, well, they don't have any way to get a hold of me after school, I'm pretty sure the office has a phone. Yep. Or, the other friend whose parent gives them a phone, they can use their phone. It blows me away. So what I would recommend, first of all, just not even giving children under a certain age, which I don't know what age that is, maybe restrict them depending on their maturity level. How mature are they? How are they able to follow the rules? Are they able to restrict daytime use, nighttime use, restrict internet access? Do the parents have apps on their phones where you can see what your child is doing on their phone? There is such a thing. I don't know what it's called, but I can research it for next time and tell you what that's called.
Right.
There's so many different ways that parents can be vigilant when it comes to their children using cell phones and internet.
And monitoring exactly what, because just one single letter difference can take you a whole different direction.
Absolutely.
I remember, and this was years ago, I was helping one of my kids doing a study, and I spelt Australia wrong. And oh my goodness, that's
geez.
Close out. I couldn't close the pages fast enough. It kept popping up.
And then it freezes up on you, and then you have to call IT, and it's a whole mess.
Yeah, so, and it's, because there's literally so much out there that's accessible just from a little simple device.
Yes.
Unlike when we grew up, and so
they need to be responsibly used. I'm all for smartphones. I'm all for being able to have technology in the palm of your hand. But the person who's utilizing that technology really does have to have the maturity level to be able to understand between good technology and bad technology.
Right, and like you said, what age, or I think that does fall back to the parents or guardians, that they need to realize that, hey, it's age appropriate, and maturity level appropriate too, because we got some older teenagers that still.
And let's face it, Kirk, we have adults who use smartphones who are not mature enough to use smartphones.
I would tend to probably agree with you on that, but yeah, so it's like, how do we, and like you said, that it's not really, because epidemic, pandemic, those things kind of fall back under health and medical type terms, but honestly it does. In fact, when you were talking a little bit ago, I kind of had a thought of, when we were growing up years ago, it was the big issue was gateway drugs to bigger drugs, smoking cigarettes and then marijuana, and then you go to keep stepping up. But I think social media has that gateway.
Absolutely.
You're starting out little, and it blossoms and blooms out to something that beyond what we're capable of handling
or understanding.
Exactly.
The children understanding what it is that they're getting themselves into.
Right, and I think they kind of don't realize what they're doing. Exactly.
So earlier you had asked, what are we seeing in the trend, and what are we seeing as far as the criminal investigations unit and how we're investigating these cases and what we're seeing?
Right.
I don't think I finished because we got sidetracked and off.
It's so easy to do that, isn't it?
You know what? It's a tree with a million branches. We can go a whole bunch of different directions with this one little tiny topic of cell phones, internet, and social media. So one of the problems that we're seeing are these teenage girls and boys are sending nude photographs, and then at some point they're meeting this person who they've developed a relationship with on social media and or on their phone, and come to find out that that person that they're meeting is much older than them, when we're dealing with 14 and 15-year-old teenage girls, or teenage boys for that matter, and they're having 20-something, 30-something-year-old men meeting them, and it involves into a sexual relationship where you have a guy who has to be the responsible adult that says, oh, you're 14, this is not okay, bye, I gotta go, whatever. But they don't, and they engage in sexual contact, and then you have a police report that develops because that's not okay.
Right. And then it goes on further than that.
Right.
And it's, is this the only person that they're doing this with?
Right, exactly. Yeah.
And like you said, here's that adult that wasn't mature enough
right.
to use smart technology.
So the trend that you asked is smartphones, internet, social media, and that leads into some sort of criminal, most of the time, 99% of the time, some sort of criminal sexual activity where you have a normal adult male who's now being arrested for sexual conduct with a minor. And
on that side of things, they end up with becoming a sex offender and having to register and things like that, and maybe that wasn't their intention.
Right.
But that's where it leads.
Right. Absolutely.
And even to all other types of
we can go on for days.
Stuff that happens.
Yes.
But yeah, so and we're, and it's interesting because when I went to one of the elementary schools this year to find out what topics to talk about, and one of them was technology and vaping and different things like that, and so that we're seeing a lot of this stuff happening at a younger and younger age. And I know my kids grew up playing Xbox and that kind of stuff, and some of those, and now my youngest son, he does a gaming site where he does have conversations with people, and he has told me that they're all over the world and things like that. And
absolutely.
And so that turns into a whole nother scary topic in itself. And and so if they're playing these kinds of games at that age, I mean, it can be they're learning very young how to
exactly. We've had a couple of cases that have come out of gaming systems. And this is probably a whole nother topic, but I'll just touch on it a tiny little bit.
Right.
NCMEC, which is the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, anytime someone reports an incident or an event to NCMEC, they filter it, find out which state it goes to. When they find out it goes to Arizona, they send it to the Phoenix office, which is ICAC, International Crimes Against Children. And then the Phoenix office filters it and finds out what county it's in. They find out it's in Navajo County, and then they send it to us. And this one particular case that was sent to us through a gaming system was a person who was not in the Navajo County jurisdiction, but another jurisdiction, had confided in a person who was in Navajo County jurisdiction that they had committed sexual acts on their siblings.
Wow.
And so now we're looking at, okay, so we have to go contact this person who's in Navajo County, find out who they were talking to, which they don't know because it's on a gaming system.
Right, and they use crazy type of names.
Right, they're not even using their real name or real identifiers, or there's no phone numbers, there's no addresses, there's nothing to identify where that person is coming from. And essentially it could mean that somebody could possibly be in danger, the crime could be continuing to happen. It could have happened, a long time ago, could be happening now. There's a lot of, like I said, a tree with a million different branches going 100 different directions.
Right.
There's just, I could go on and on.
But yeah, as you look at Navajo County, and we work very closely with Apache County as well, kind of sister counties, if you like to call it that.
Right.
We have a diverse culture. Are you seeing any kind of differences between or is it pretty much widespread across everywhere?
It's widespread everywhere. I'm not seeing any cultural differences or age differences or, anything like that. It's unfortunate, but now we're starting to see, like you said earlier, where it's starting at a younger age, because now we're dealing with children who are in elementary school who are exposed to something of this nature, of the things that we've been talking about.
And you used to work with the Family Advocacy Center, and had to do a lot of those types of forensic interviews, and that's got to be something that's tough. And and not to try to bring stuff up.
No, you're fine.
But I mean, as a detective, you end up having to delve into all this kind of stuff. And so I think that's kind of why I feel your passion for this, that you want to try to see families avoid this type of behavior.
Preventative maintenance. So you know how, and I'm not sure if you do, but when you graduate from the police academy and you're out on the streets and you're doing preventative policing, right? You're talking to your neighbors, you're telling them lock your doors, lock your cars, lock your windows, put up security cameras, put up security, alarms and all this, like you were talking about earlier,
right,
with alarms and stuff. You're securing your house and you're securing your car to protect your family from the stranger on the street. But now you need to secure your internet and secure your phones and secure your gaming devices to protect your children from all the different strangers that are out in the World Wide Web.
And they're in your house now.
Now they're in your house, yeah. And they know everything about you. You just say little tiny things every day and they find out more and more information about you. And next thing you know, you have your child's being whisked away on some human trafficking thing, which we can get into later. That's a whole nother topic.
And not that, not trying to make social media to be the bad person.
Of course not.
Because I know we use it quite a bit to get those preventative messages out there for winter driving safety tips, whatever the case might be.
Right.
It's a good platform to do a lot of good, but it's
like you said earlier, it's not social media that is the bad guy, it's the bad guy that's utilizing social media.
Yeah. Exactly. And so now we got to be, we need to be looking and like you said earlier too, being ever vigilant on making sure that you've got to monitor your kids. If you're not, who knows what they're into and where it's going to lead to. And simple court costs, they can easily run into thousands and thousands of dollars.
Right.
And and when we're dealing with in our population here, we don't have the wealthiest of people living in our area.
Right.
And so it can be devastating to a family, and not only harms that child, but it can even tend to break up families too.
Right.
And so we're seeing a lot of there's just so much evil that can come out from just a simple starting with a, hey, how's it going?
Right.
And
I could give you so many examples, Kirk, but you don't know who's on the other end of that phone. Their profile may say Cindy from Detroit, and she's 15 years old, and she's befriending you, but that's not Cindy from Detroit who's 15 years old. That's Bob, who's 80 years old, and he's sitting in his living room
across the street.
Across the street, yeah. Who knows where he's at? I mean, I lost my train of thought.
But yeah, you don't know who that person is,
right?
And so why allow yourself to open up and now granted, there's lots of meeting sites, and there's been successful marriages or whatever relationships from that, but you just got to be extremely careful and cautious, and kind of going back to, are those children, are they mature enough?
Right.
Are they ready for that type of relationship?
Right.
And
social media in itself, that's a very good word for it, is a relationship. And are they old enough to be in that type of relationship? Restrictions.
Right.
You need to have restrictions.
Right. You get, and unfortunately, and I'm not the hold down the law of kind of dad, and I'm a little too nice, I admit it, but sometimes we got to step up and be that bad guy.
Well, it's dangerous.
Exactly.
It is. It's dangerous.
I mean, we wouldn't let our kids walk out on the ice knowing it's not thick enough to be out there.
Right.
We're going to stop them. So we got the same thing with, in theory, they are walking on thin ice with using social media.
Good one.
So,
yeah, that was good.
And so we got to protect not only them, but ourselves and our families and everybody. And looking out for our neighbors that we have, ones that we know and care and appreciate. We got to protect each other. It's
very, very traumatizing for victims of these types of crimes to go through the court process and to go through everything that they have to do in order to see the whole case through to the end. It's traumatizing for the victim, it's traumatizing for the families, it sometimes tears families apart. If we could just avoid all that by staying vigilant and watching our kids on the internet, I think we would do a lot better.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I would like to continue this conversation again on our next episode of Safe and Sound, and kind of delve in a little bit further, because like you said, this can go so many different directions, and I think we do need to look at how we can find those apps that we can help our parents and grandparents and guardians. And so
correct.
So if you're willing to come back again,
absolutely,
and we'll continue this conversation. And thank you for watching Safe and Sound, and we'll see you next month. And this has been Kirk Webb, your host, Safe and Sound.